On the evening of May 16th, 1983, millions of Americans turned on their televisions, expecting to watch a celebration of Motown Records' remarkable legacy. The special, known as Motown 25, Yesterday, Today, Forever, brought together some of the greatest names in music history, honoring the artists who had helped shape an entire generation. Legends such as Smokey Robinson, Marvin Gaye, Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder, The Temptations, and the Jacksons all shared the same stage, creating an event unlike anything television audiences had seen before. At first, it appeared to be a nostalgic reunion, a chance to relive unforgettable songs and celebrate decades of musical achievement. According to the transcript, producers expected the program to become one of television's biggest entertainment specials, but no one involved could have predicted that a single performance later that night would permanently change the history of popular culture. For Michael Jackson, however, the evening represented something much more personal. Although he had returned to perform alongside his brothers, his solo career had already reached extraordinary heights following the release of Thriller just months earlier. Around the world, audiences were beginning to see him, not simply as the youngest member of the Jackson 5, but as an artist redefining the future of music. Yet Michael wasn't interested in repeating what people had already seen. He believed every performance should offer something unexpected, something that audiences would remember for the rest of their lives. According to the transcript, those closest to the production recalled Michael spending considerable time thinking about how to make his appearance unique, understanding that this performance had the potential to become much more than another television moment. Even before stepping onto the stage, he was quietly preparing an idea that would soon become one of the most recognizable moments in entertainment history. As the program moved forward, viewers had no idea they were only minutes away from witnessing a cultural turning point. Families gathered in living rooms across America, unaware that television history was about to unfold before their eyes. The stage lights, the audience, the cameras, and even the performers themselves were all part of an evening that would soon be remembered for one extraordinary performance. Decades later, people would still remember exactly where they were when they first watched it happen. Historians would point to that night as the moment Michael Jackson stopped being simply one of the world's biggest stars and became a global cultural phenomenon unlike any entertainer before him. But before that unforgettable performance could begin, Michael first had to make a decision that almost changed history forever, a decision that nearly prevented the world from ever seeing Billie Jean performed on the Motown 25 stage. As preparations for Motown 25 moved forward, producers were determined to reunite the legendary artists who had helped build the Motown legacy. One of the evening's biggest attractions would be the long-awaited reunion of the Jacksons, bringing Michael back together with his brothers on national television. For many people involved with the special, that reunion alone seemed more than enough to satisfy audiences. But Michael viewed the event differently. His career had entered a completely new chapter following the unprecedented success of Thriller, and he believed simply revisiting the past would not reflect where he stood as an artist. According to the transcript, Michael initially hesitated to participate because he wanted the evening to celebrate Motown's history rather than become centered on his rapidly growing solo career. He questioned whether performing one of his new songs would fit the purpose of the celebration. Behind the scenes, conversations continued as producers encouraged Michael to reconsider. They understood that audiences wanted to see not only the Jackson family reunited, but also the remarkable performer Michael had become since leaving Motown. After considerable discussion, a compromise gradually emerged. Michael would first join his brothers for a medley of Jackson 5 classics, honoring the label that had launched their careers. Then, after the reunion performance ended, he would return to the stage alone to perform Billie Jean. It was a decision that almost never happened, yet it would become the defining moment of the entire broadcast. According to the transcript, Michael agreed only after feeling confident that his solo appearance would complement the celebration, rather than overshadow the remarkable legacy Motown had created. Even then, almost no one realized he had quietly prepared something audiences had never seen before. As rehearsal day arrived, Michael continued refining every movement with the same perfectionism that had already become his trademark. He wasn't interested in delivering an ordinary television performance. He wanted every step, every pause, every glance toward the audience to create suspense and anticipation. Hidden within the routine was one small movement that had never been performed publicly, a dance step he had been developing in private for years. No producer requested it. No network executive knew it was coming. Even many of the dancers and crew members had no idea that history was about to be made. When Michael finally walked onto the stage wearing a black sequined jacket, black trousers, white socks, and a single sparkling glove, millions of viewers believed they were about to watch another great performance. Instead, they were seconds away from witnessing one of the most iconic moments ever captured on television. As the opening notes of Billie Jean echoed through the Pasadena Civic Auditorium, the atmosphere inside the theater immediately changed. Michael Jackson stepped onto the stage alone, dressed in a black sequined jacket, matching trousers, a glittering glove, and the white socks that would soon become part of pop culture history. From the very first beat, it was clear that this was no ordinary television performance. Every movement was deliberate. Every pause created anticipation. Rather than rushing through the choreography, Michael controlled the audience's attention with remarkable precision, allowing silence to become just as powerful as the music itself. According to the transcript, those watching inside the auditorium could sense they were witnessing something different, although no one yet understood that a single dance move was about to become one of the most recognizable moments in entertainment history. Then it happened. Near the middle of the performance, Michael paused, turned toward the audience, and slowly stepped backward in a way that seemed to defy logic. Instead of appearing to walk, he appeared to glide effortlessly across the stage, while his upper body remained perfectly controlled. The audience erupted instantly. Cheers drowned out the music as people leaped from their seats in disbelief. Television viewers at home experienced the same reaction, many replaying the moment in their minds, because they could hardly believe what they had just seen. Although the backward glide had earlier influences in dance history, Michael refined, popularized, and presented it to a worldwide audience in a way that transformed it into the legendary Moonwalk. According to the transcript, the response inside the theater was immediate and overwhelming, with the performance becoming the defining highlight of the entire Motown 25 special almost the moment it occurred. By the time Billie Jean ended, the entertainment world had changed forever. Newspapers, television programs, and audiences everywhere were talking about the same unforgettable performance. Children practiced the moonwalk in school hallways. Professional dancers studied every frame of the broadcast. Artists around the world suddenly realized that a live television appearance could become a cultural event capable of influencing an entire generation. Michael himself would later express surprise at the enormous reaction, never imagining that one brief moment would become permanently linked with his name. What began as a celebration of Motown's extraordinary history had suddenly become the birthplace of one of the most iconic performances ever recorded. And as the excitement continued spreading across the world, another realization began taking shape. It wasn't only the moonwalk that had made history. It was the 5 unforgettable seconds that transformed Michael Jackson from a global superstar into a living legend. History is often remembered through major events that unfold over years or even decades, but sometimes everything changes in just a few seconds. During Michael Jackson's performance of Billie Jean at Motown 25, there was one brief moment that permanently altered the course of popular culture. After confidently moving across the stage, Michael suddenly stopped. He slowly removed his black fedora, looked toward the audience, balanced perfectly on his toes, and then glided backward in one impossibly smooth motion. The entire sequence lasted only a matter of seconds, yet it instantly became one of the most replayed and celebrated moments in television history. According to the transcript, the audience's reaction was immediate, with thunderous applause interrupting the performance, as spectators realized they had witnessed something completely new. It wasn't simply another dance routine. It was a cultural moment that audiences knew they would never forget. What made those few seconds so extraordinary wasn't just the moonwalk itself. It was Michael's complete control over every detail of the performance. He understood the power of anticipation, allowing the audience to focus entirely on him before revealing the move that would define his career. Every pause, every turn, every gesture had been carefully rehearsed until it appeared effortless. According to the transcript, Michael had spent considerable time refining the performance, ensuring that each movement flowed naturally and built toward the unforgettable climax. Even after introducing the moonwalk to a worldwide audience, he continued performing with the same confidence and precision, demonstrating that the dance move was only one part of a much larger artistic vision. The brilliance of the performance lay not only in technical skill, but also in Michael's ability to transform a simple television appearance into an emotional experience shared by millions of viewers simultaneously. When the broadcast ended, the conversation had already begun. News outlets praised the performance, entertainers discussed it backstage, and fans across the country immediately tried recreating the moonwalk in living rooms, school hallways, and dance studios. Within days, the performance had become the defining memory of Motown 25, overshadowing nearly every other moment from the special. More importantly, it marked the beginning of a new era in entertainment where live television performances were no longer expected to simply showcase music. They were expected to create unforgettable moments capable of influencing an entire generation. Michael Jackson had accomplished exactly that in less than 5 seconds. From that night forward, every major artist would face the same challenge. How could anyone create a performance powerful enough to match what Michael Jackson had achieved on the Motown stage? That question would shape the future of live entertainment for decades to come. When Motown 25 finally aired nationwide, Michael Jackson was already one of the biggest names in music. Thriller had been released only a few months earlier and was rapidly becoming a worldwide phenomenon. Yet after the broadcast, something extraordinary happened. Michael was no longer viewed as simply a successful recording artist. He became a global cultural icon whose influence reached far beyond the music industry. Newspapers across America placed his performance on their front pages, television commentators replayed the Moonwalk repeatedly, and millions of viewers who had never purchased one of his albums suddenly wanted to know everything about him. According to the transcript, the overwhelming public reaction transformed Billie Jean at Motown 25 into the defining performance of Michael's career, accelerating the global momentum that Thriller had already begun, and introducing him to an even wider audience than ever before. The impact was immediate and impossible to ignore. Record stores reported renewed demand for Thriller, radio stations increased airplay, and concert promoters began recognizing that Michael Jackson had become an entertainer unlike anyone the industry had seen before. His style of performance combined music, dance, fashion, and theatrical storytelling into a single, unforgettable experience. Audiences no longer attended his performances simply to hear songs they loved. They came to witness moments that could never be replicated. According to the transcript, industry professionals quickly realized that Michael had fundamentally changed audience expectations. A live performance was no longer judged only by vocal ability or choreography. It now had to create emotion, surprise, and cultural conversation in the way Michael had achieved on the Motown stage. His influence spread almost overnight, inspiring performers around the world to rethink what was possible in front of a live audience. Looking back today, it is difficult to imagine popular culture without that single performance. The Moonwalk became a universal symbol recognized across generations, while Michael's confidence, creativity, and perfectionism established a completely new standard for entertainers everywhere. Future artists would spend decades trying to create defining television moments of their own, but many would openly acknowledge that the blueprint had already been written on that unforgettable night in 1983. What audiences witnessed was not simply the success of Billie Jean or the rise of Thriller. They witnessed the birth of a phenomenon whose influence would extend into fashion, advertising, dance, filmmaking, and global entertainment itself. Yet behind that seemingly effortless performance was an extraordinary amount of unseen preparation. Every step, every pause, and every movement had been carefully crafted long before the cameras ever began rolling, a process that remained hidden from the public until years later. To millions of viewers watching Motown 25, Michael Jackson's performance appeared completely effortless. Every movement flowed naturally, every pause felt perfectly timed, and the Moonwalk looked as though it had been invented in the very moment audiences first witnessed it. But behind those unforgettable 4 minutes stood countless hours of preparation that almost no one ever saw. Michael had long believed that true perfection was achieved long before the audience entered the theater. Rehearsals were never simply about remembering choreography. They were about refining every detail until it became second nature. According to the transcript, Michael approached the Motown performance with extraordinary attention to detail, carefully planning each movement, each camera angle, and each moment of suspense so that the audience would experience something entirely unexpected when the live broadcast finally aired. One of Michael's greatest strengths was his understanding of anticipation. Rather than revealing everything immediately, he carefully controlled the rhythm of the performance, allowing excitement to build before delivering the moment that would define the evening. The famous Moonwalk was not performed at the beginning of Billie Jean. Instead, Michael waited until the audience was fully engaged before introducing the move that would become legendary. Even his costume was selected with remarkable precision. The black sequined jacket, the sparkling glove, the black loafers, and the bright white socks were all designed to direct the audience's attention toward his movements under the stage lights. According to the transcript, every element of the performance was intentionally chosen to strengthen the visual impact, demonstrating that Michael viewed costume, lighting, choreography, and music as parts of one complete artistic experience, rather than separate pieces of a show. Looking back today, it becomes clear that the success of Motown 25 was never the result of luck. It was the product of preparation, discipline, and an artist who refused to accept anything less than excellence. Michael understood that audiences would remember how a performance made them feel long after they forgot individual dance steps or musical notes. That philosophy became one of the defining principles of his entire career. Every rehearsal served a purpose. Every movement carried intention. Every second on stage had been earned through relentless dedication behind closed doors. The world celebrated the Moonwalk because it appeared effortless, but the real story was the extraordinary commitment hidden beneath that illusion. And as news of the performance spread across the globe, another remarkable transformation began taking place. Michael Jackson was no longer simply inspiring audiences. He was inspiring an entire generation of artists who suddenly wanted to follow the path he had just created. The impact of Motown 25 extended far beyond the millions of people who watched the broadcast that evening. Inside recording studios, rehearsal halls, and television networks across the world, artists and producers were asking the same question. How had Michael Jackson completely transformed a single television performance into a global cultural event? Before that night, many performers focused primarily on singing the song well. Michael proved that a performance could become something much greater. It could tell a story. It could create suspense. It It could leave audiences speechless before the final note had even faded. According to the transcript, the overwhelming response to Billie Jean demonstrated that Michael had introduced a new standard for live entertainment, inspiring countless performers to rethink how music, choreography, fashion, and visual presentation could be combined into one unforgettable experience. As the months and years passed, the influence of that performance became impossible to ignore. Young dancers practiced the moonwalk for hours, hoping to master the move that had amazed the world. Aspiring singers studied Michael's stage presence as carefully as they studied his vocals. Established artists also recognized that audiences now expected something extraordinary every time they stepped onto a stage. Concerts gradually became larger. Choreography became more ambitious. Costumes grew increasingly elaborate, and live performances evolved into complete theatrical productions. According to the transcript, Michael's appearance at Motown 25 became a turning point not only for his own career, but also for the entertainment industry as a whole, encouraging artists to think beyond music alone and embrace performance as a complete visual experience. His influence could soon be seen across genres, generations, and countries, proving that one unforgettable night had permanently expanded the possibilities of popular entertainment. Perhaps the greatest measure of Michael Jackson's success is that his performance continues inspiring artists more than 4 decades later. Every major award show, halftime performance, world tour, and televised concert now carries traces of the standard he established in 1983. Performers continue searching for the kind of defining cultural moment that Michael created in just a few unforgettable minutes on the Motown stage. Very few ever achieve it, but almost all acknowledge the example he left behind. His performance was not simply remembered because of technical brilliance. It was remembered because it changed what audiences believed live entertainment could become. That transformation reached far beyond music itself, influencing fashion, dance, filmmaking, and global popular culture. And as Michael's influence continued spreading across the world, the greatest revolution sparked by Motown 25 was only beginning. One dance move had already become legendary, but its impact on culture would reshape an entire generation. When Michael Jackson performed the moonwalk during Motown 25, the audience witnessed far more than an impressive dance move. They witnessed the beginning of a cultural revolution that would influence music, fashion, television, and entertainment for decades. Almost overnight, the moonwalk became a worldwide phenomenon. Children practiced it in school playgrounds, professional dancers incorporated it into their routines, and television programs replayed the performance again and again. What made the moment so extraordinary was that it crossed every cultural and language barrier. People who had never met Michael Jackson, and who may not even have spoken English, immediately understood they had witnessed something remarkable. According to the transcript, the performance became an international sensation, transforming a single television appearance into one of the defining moments in modern popular culture and cementing Michael's reputation as an artist capable of changing the direction of entertainment itself. The influence extended far beyond dance. Fashion designers noticed audiences trying to recreate Michael's unmistakable look, from the black sequined jacket and sparkling glove to the black loafers and white socks that had become instantly recognizable. Advertisers, filmmakers, and television producers also began studying the performance, realizing that audiences were responding not simply to music, but to complete visual storytelling. Music videos soon became larger productions with cinematic budgets, while live concerts evolved into theatrical spectacles featuring elaborate choreography, lighting effects, and dramatic staging. According to the transcript, Michael's appearance at Motown 25 demonstrated that a performance could become a global cultural event capable of influencing industries far beyond music, inspiring creators everywhere to think bigger, take greater creative risks, and place visual storytelling at the heart of entertainment. Looking back more than 40 years later, the significance of that night continues to grow. Many unforgettable performances have followed, but very few have permanently changed the expectations of audiences around the world. Michael Jackson achieved exactly that because he understood something timeless. People remember moments that make them feel genuine surprise and wonder. The moonwalk became famous, not simply because it looked extraordinary, but because it represented innovation, creativity, and the courage to present something the world had never seen before. Every artist who has attempted to create a defining live television moment since then has, knowingly or unknowingly, followed the path Michael opened on that stage. Yet perhaps the greatest achievement of Motown 25 was not the moonwalk itself. It was proving that one unforgettable performance could redefine the future of live entertainment forever, setting a standard that continues to influence performers across every generation. Before Motown 25, television performances were generally viewed as opportunities to promote songs or celebrate musical achievements. Audiences expected talented singers, skilled musicians, and memorable performances, but few anticipated moments that would permanently reshape popular culture. Michael Jackson changed that expectation forever. His performance of Billie Jean demonstrated that a live television appearance could become a global event capable of influencing fashion, dance, music, and entertainment all at once. According to the transcript, the response to Motown 25 extended far beyond the broadcast itself, as viewers, critics, and industry professionals quickly recognized that Michael had established an entirely new standard for what a televised performance could accomplish. From that point forward, artists no longer wanted to simply perform on television. They wanted to create moments that audiences would remember for generations. The effects of that transformation became increasingly visible throughout the years that followed. Award shows invested in larger productions, concert tours introduced increasingly sophisticated stage designs, and music videos evolved into cinematic experiences with storylines, special effects, and theatrical choreography. Artists understood that audiences were no longer satisfied with hearing a great song alone. They wanted to be surprised, inspired, and emotionally moved by everything happening on stage. Michael had shown that choreography, lighting, costumes, camera work, and music could become one unified artistic experience. According to the transcript, the success of the Motown 25 performance encouraged performers and producers alike to think beyond traditional concerts, inspiring a generation of entertainers to treat every major appearance as an opportunity to create history rather than simply entertain. That philosophy would influence live performances for decades and become the blueprint for countless legendary productions that followed. Looking back today, the true legacy of Motown 25 extends far beyond the Moonwalk itself. It marked the beginning of an era in which live entertainment became an immersive visual experience rather than a straightforward musical presentation. Every major halftime show, international award ceremony, and stadium concert now reflects principles that Michael demonstrated on that unforgettable evening. Precision, storytelling, innovation, and the courage to surprise an audience when they least expect it. Few performances have ever altered the direction of an entire industry, but this one undoubtedly did. More than 40 years later, entertainers continue measuring themselves against the standard Michael established that night. And perhaps that is the greatest achievement of all. Motown 25 was never simply a celebration of the past. It became the moment that defined the future of live entertainment. The performance ended after only a few minutes, but its influence continues shaping stages around the world to this very day. More than 4 decades have passed since Michael Jackson first performed the Moonwalk on the stage of Motown 25, yet no other dance move has captured the world's imagination in quite the same way. Millions of performances have taken place since that unforgettable evening. New styles of dance have emerged, technology has transformed live entertainment, and generations of artists have introduced their own signature moves. Yet, whenever people think of dance in popular culture, one image continues to stand above all others. Michael Jackson appearing to glide effortlessly backward across the stage, as if gravity itself had briefly disappeared. According to the transcript, the Moonwalk became far more than a remarkable piece of choreography. It evolved into a universal symbol of creativity, innovation, and artistic excellence, forever linking Michael Jackson's name with one of the most recognizable moments in entertainment history. The lasting power of the Moonwalk cannot be explained by technique alone. Although dancers before Michael had performed variations of the backward glide, it was his presentation that transformed the movement into a global phenomenon. He introduced it at exactly the right moment on one of the largest television audiences of the era, surrounded by a performance carefully designed to maximize surprise and emotion. Everything worked together: the music, the costume, the lighting, the timing, and Michael's extraordinary stage presence. According to the transcript, Motown 25 became the defining showcase for Michael's artistic vision because it demonstrated his unique ability to combine music, dance, fashion, and storytelling into a single unforgettable experience. The Moonwalk was not simply remembered because it looked impossible. It was remembered because it represented an artist constantly searching for new ways to amaze the world, reminding audiences that true innovation often arrives when people least expect it. Looking back today, the true legacy of Motown 25 extends far beyond one performance or one famous dance move. It represents the night Michael Jackson permanently changed the language of popular entertainment. He proved that a television appearance could become a historic cultural event, that dance could communicate as powerfully as music, and that a single creative idea could inspire generations of performers around the world. Every major artist who has stepped onto a stage hoping to create an unforgettable moment has, in some way, followed the path Michael opened that night in 1983. The Moonwalk remains legendary not because it belonged to the past, but because it continues inspiring the future. It reminds us that greatness is achieved not by following expectations, but by daring to create something the world has never seen before. And perhaps that is Michael Jackson's greatest gift of all. He didn't simply perform for an audience. He expanded the boundaries of what entertainment itself could become. Thank you for watching. Until next time, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next documentary. If you enjoyed this documentary,